Testing live. Long workshop. Set this up all on my own and figured it out. Should be good to go. Testing. And zoom in. Check in. Making sure my chair is good. Zoom this in. Okay. Gonna be working on stuff till people come in. Pump Shop weekly stream. As I, am starting streaming. Hello to anybody out there. My Twitch is kind of lagging behind, so it says I have 0 viewers right now, which, you know, I very well might. Didn't really advertise this time. There we go. Okay. Hello, thanks guys. Thanks for the hellos. Jumping right back in my sanding, so. Hello. Hello, hello. How are you all? You finished your games? Also did notice, oh, never mind. I was gonna say, Curry, that I wasn't on the live thing showing I was streaming, but apparently it updated, so. Oh, sleepy. Ugh. Yeah, I did. I put it on online and I see it now. It was just like when I first started it, it wasn't showing up, but I see myself there now, so. Playing Overwatch 3 hours straight, man. I don't have patience for that anymore. Or that game at all. Right now, just doing one last check on that face that I finished last time. And then I'll be moving on to some smaller stuff today. Oh yeah, gotcha. When I repaint, am I gonna do the colors on the box? No, I am gonna do them a little bit different. From what I remember, yeah, she has brown hair and just more of a blackish outfit, a little bit trending towards blue, and I'm gonna do some warmer colors, I'm thinking, so I'll keep most of it a surprise. I'm gonna keep most of this white, but for the black part, that's kind of a deeper bluish black, I'm gonna do more red, so it's gonna be more of a warmer plum black rather than the blue. Yeah, kind of is. That would be cute actually, a Lisa Frank one. I've got a kit in mind in my closet that I have been meaning to do in a style like that, just really bright Lisa Frank colors. It's been in the back of my mind for like over a year now, but I haven't nailed down a concrete image of what I want, and so, or a photo or anything that inspires me, so she's just sitting there for now. Hello incoming people, those who are just tuning in. I kind of just jumped straight into sanding, and I'm wrapping up the two faces that I finished or almost finished last time, and then I will be moving on to the smaller pieces, which I just put all in a bag for storage for now. Maybe, yeah, hopefully I'll be streaming that one. Who knows at this point? I'm kind of giving this a test run to see how it goes, because it's interesting and very time consuming doing the whole way through. Kind of sanding the front of her face now. I saw a weird bubble of resin, but I don't want to go too crazy, so digging. Okay. Alright, gonna take a quick look at her face off screen. Just keep it really close to my face so you guys don't see me peering in. Mostly looking for any other defects that I missed the first time. So I noticed this on the other one, but there's a little scratch that's unrelated to the seam line that both kits had, or both faces, so I'm just drilling that out real quick. I missed it, dang it. Should be okay. And look along here. And then the other one. Oh, one more bubble. Grab that real quick. Oops. Pop that bubble. There's a bunch of bubbles up at the top of her hair, but I'm not hair, but like face. But I'm not gonna mess with those ones because I can see them, and I'll just tackle them once you start puttying. Okay. All right, these two looking good. I'm gonna keep moving on. So, your face is done. Gonna move on. What am I feeling today? Am I feeling some all small, some big? I feel like working on her ribbon today. I might regret this later, but feeling the ribbon, so. I think after this I'll probably move on to the bloomers, but just want to get at least one small piece out of the way. Okay. Exacto. with the enamel thinner, and if necessary, wipe the area off the eye, like wipe the paint off the eye. But it's not going to affect the skin underneath because you've already put on your top coat, and the enamel is weaker than your lacquer. And so what you can do after that is, you know, get the white on the eye however you want it. You're going to seal that again with your lacquer top coat. After your enamel's cured, of course, you've let it dry. And then after that, your skin tone and the white part of the eye, none of those will be affected by the next layer of enamel that you put on. So the process is that what you're doing, you got your lacquer skin, or however, what color skin you put on, usually lacquer, you top coat it. You top coat it, you put your enamel on, you top coat it again, and so on and so forth. And so you can do, you know, however much painting you want in one layer. You can paint, you know, all the eyelashes and maybe her little mouth and then top coat it, but you're building on layers slowly. And so the thing about this method, why a lot of people like it, is because each layer underneath isn't affected. It's really easy to get like perfect application. You know, you can take as many times as you need to wipe it off, or you can even, if I overpainted a little area here, I can just wipe that off with enamel thinner. It's not going to do anything. So in short, that's how you do it. You just kind of go back and forth with lacquer top coat, gloss, it's got to be gloss, lacquer gloss top coat, enamel, lacquer gloss top coat, your next layer, etc., etc. When you're finally done with your eye, you're going to seal it or your face, eyes, whatever. You're going to seal it one last time with your gloss top coat. And then after that, you can mask off the eyes or do whatever and flatten that face down with a matte top coat. And that will flatten the whole thing, except for whatever areas you masked off. So what I usually do is, you know, I do all the skin painting with lacquer. I paint the eyes with enamel using the method of back and forth, and then I mask off the eye area with masking tape, usually masking tape and liquid mask. Spray the whole thing flat, and then when you peel that tape off, your eyes are going to be nice and shiny. So yeah, that's pretty much it. The process itself takes quite a while because, you know, you got to wait for each layer to cure. So anytime I'm doing these eyes, it usually takes me about a week to finish a pair of eyes. So for purposes of this tutorial, I might try to speed things up a little bit and just, you know, do some of the layers ahead of time, because otherwise you guys won't have any content for me to see. You can see me struggling for 2 hours, you know, to work with the eyes, but then once that top coat goes on, you don't really have anything to do. So that's why I save eyes for last, and I do that last because the process takes so long. But I hope that helps. If you have any questions, please let me know if that makes sense or not. Okay, great. Yeah, my eyes have lots of layers in that case. Yeah, it really depends how kind of gung-ho you want to go about it. You know, I know people that don't do a lot of layers, and they try to get as much done. Really, the more you add, the more wiggle room you have, but I have noticed that the more lacquer top coat you add, the more your colors get kind of muted underneath. And so I've added up to like maybe 4 or 5 layers before, and then that white that I painted under the very first layer, it's starting to look a little grayer just because of the thick layers of top coat on it. So keep that in mind. You don't want to go crazy and have like 10 layers, because then your colors are going to start to not look like what you wanted them to look like. Does it really matter in the final product? Like, no, nobody's ever noticed and said like, oh my god, why are like the whites of your character's eyes gray? Like, you know, and it doesn't really show up that much. It's just one of those things in person, you're like, I remember that color being whiter than before. Okay, I am working on this ribbon still. There's some seam lines kind of running along the whole thing. I'm just going at it. The end tips here were already pretty rounded when I looked at it, and so I don't want to shave off too much, but I gotta make sure that the seam line's gone. There's also a seam line running under this, but I'm not really gonna bother sanding that down because it's on the inside of the kit. Okay, there's a bubble there, so eh. Okay, 2 bubbles. Okay, weird. Okay. And my sandpaper is all folded. I'm not happy with it. And my scissors all the way over there. Okay. I'm gonna fold that in and get in the crack here. So this area between the top of the ribbon and the headband, there's a seam line running along both parts. Also, just FYI guys, I'm planning to put these VODs on YouTube. I've downloaded them and I'll just be kind of saving them there as a record. I don't plan to like exclusively make YouTube content. There's already, you know, a lot of YouTubers out there that do that and just work with kits and only put stuff on YouTube. But this way I'll have my streams backed up, and so I can look at them and, you know, have them as a record if you ever remember something from one of my streams and you want a point of reference, because I won't have like the Twitch, like Amazon stuff linked with it, so they'll delete, I think, after like 2 weeks. And once I get that worked out, I'll share it next Monday. Files are big, man. Like every single one of these videos I've downloaded is over 2 gigs, and I'm like, did I really talk like a whole movie worth of stream? It's crazy. Okay, it's getting good. This sandpaper, mostly good. The edges are still usable. I can feel they're a little rough, so. Like a pretty deep seam line along the end here. Not sure what I can do to fix that part. Probably just leave it alone and then go over it again when I'm done with the stream. Okay. Hello, those of you who have just tuned in. I am casually sanding away on this hairband, the little ribbon extra that came with this kit. And I felt like working on something small today. Well, at least for a little while. When you work on a lot of small stuff and get it out of the way, then it feels like a very productive day. Opposed to like sanding the same piece for 2 hours and you're like, God, what did I do with my time? Okay. Hold this again. Okay. The right hairband here is also kind of pointy. Not sure if that's intentional. I'm gonna check real quick. Now that we finished the hair and everything, it's a lot easier just to put these together and check. Oh, other way. Okay. For hairbands, it's kind of weird too. It's gonna be interesting when pinning it. Kind of sticking out on the side here. Wonder if I can, might have to heat treat it and push it down. So what you can do if your pieces don't fit correctly right away rather than like puttying them immediately. You can use a heat technique to try to warp the pieces down, and it gives it a little bit of flexibility. So there's a couple ways to do that. To heat treat the pieces, you can use a heat gun, which is the quickest way. Oh, I hear Kermie. Hey, thank you for the follow, Buzz Rose Ninja. I do appreciate it. Just sitting here sanding and explaining heat techniques now. So what I was getting at is that the hair bow doesn't fit that correctly, so you can use heat to treat it. And there's a couple ways to do that. You can use a heat gun, which is immediate, but you risk heating up that piece way too quickly. But it is very effective. It heats it up. You can, you know, manipulate the piece almost right away. There's the blow dryer technique, which is, you know, just blowing a blow dryer on a piece on high for, you know, 30 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes, and that'll heat the resin piece enough where you can manipulate the resin. It's not going to melt it, but the resin will get soft, and you can, you know, bend the pieces. Or you can boil it. So boil a whole bunch of water, stick the piece in, let it sit there for a little while, and then take it out and manipulate it that way. That method is, it's never really worked for me. I'm not sure why. Maybe I'm just not leaving my pieces in the water long enough. But I do know people that use it quite successfully, and they're very vocal about their appreciation for it. So, yeah, it's really whatever works for you. I personally use the blow dryer method, so I have a blow dryer that I just put the pieces on for like a minute, and then I'm able to manipulate them. So I might show that here. Depends how loud the blow dryer will get. I'll probably noise gate because it's a pretty loud blow dryer. But yeah, it's a really awesome way to try to fix your pieces first before resulting to putty, because putty does involve, you know, quite a bunch of work. You've got to add all the putty, fill in every hole, you know, 2 or 3 times, sand it down. You've got a big nasty gap. You've got to work with the gap, sand that down, you know. So sometimes it's easier just to see if the pieces were already, you know, in good shape. They just kind of came out wrong in the casting process. I had that happen with one of my, with the Abby kit that's showing up on my past kits. The back of her shirt, so like she had 2 forms. One was her just wearing a shirt, and the other one was like a cardigan. When she was wearing the shirt, the back pieces didn't align at all. So it was like 2 pieces of a shirt that fit together like this. But the pieces when I received them were like outside, like they didn't fit flush together, they fit like this. And so what I had to do with the blow dryer is soften the pieces enough and get them kind of to fit together slowly. And eventually it worked. I didn't even need to putty them or anything. So whatever happened in casting, it just, you know, something went wrong and the pieces weren't aligned. But heat saved the day. We'll see. The rest of this kit fits together pretty much fine from what I could tell, but you know, you never really know until you start actually putting things together and pinning it. Let's see, this is looking pretty good. Got the top all sanded down. There is this small seam line in the middle here between the ribbon and the hairband, but it's not that big of a deal. I can probably putty it later and or sand it all the way down later. So I'm just going to test this one more time and then move on to the next one. Yep. Yep, looking cute. Let's see if I can show her face. So, a little hard right now, but yeah, so, oh my god, see, and then it falls apart. This is why you need magnets. Anyway, moving on. Let's see if I can move these down, show what's done and what is to do. So, next up, let's see, might as well, how's this piece looking? Her other hairband. Okay, you know what, let's just do the next hairband. This one's a little rougher. It's got some little nubs that are still present on the sides here. Yeah, she's a cutie. So it's got some nubs on the sides, some extra flash on the hairband end, and all along, you know, there's a pattern going back and forth on her hairband to look like frills, and that one has a seam line running all along it. If I'm looking inside of the frills, there's also a few resin bumps. So I'm going to start at the bottom here like I did with the other one, and then just kind of work my way around. Again, going in with the 400 first because this stuff's pretty rough. And then gonna smooth it out with the 800. Got a weird piece of fuzz here too. What's going on there? Okay. And the insides here are pretty rough. There's quite a bit of seam line / extra gunk, so I'm gonna just go in with the X-Acto knife and carve that out as much as I can. Trying to follow the guide of like the line of the kit. May have carved into that. Well, nope, I'm good. Thought I carved into it too much, but still looking really rough, so. Okay. Actually want to check this too, so sometimes it helps if your pieces already look like they're gonna fit. You just stick it in there to make sure. This fit is weird. Wonder if it's meant to be this way. Okay, I'm gonna have to look at her parts sheet because it's not really clear. I think it does go this way because it seems to follow the line of the kit, but it's really loose and it doesn't really follow along her head. Can't tell if that's because there's too big of a gap here or what, but when we pin this, I think there's going to be some puttying to do on this hairband, kind of to bulk it out a little bit and make it look so it's smoother, because right now it looks like there's a gap between her head and the hairband. Okay. Just initial inspection thoughts. So I try to do that for all of my kits to give me an idea of, you know, how much I need to sand down, what the fit already looks like, and what I'll need to do. So mentally prepare myself. Hi Jess, how you doing? Thank you for tuning in. Let's see, where do I get my magnets? Can't find them. Nice, so I buy my magnets from K&J Magnetics. Let me drop my stuff and just link it in the chat real quick. I've used this site for all of my magnets. Keep in mind, this is a US site, so if you do not live in the US, I'm not sure. I think they do ship internationally, but just something to keep in mind. Yeah, I didn't play Cyberpunk Jess, but yeah, I know this was one of the songs in the game. And when Grind's album came out, like I knew this song was on it, and it's one of my top ones, so I ended up keeping it. Oh wait, what did I do? Okay, sorry, I paused the chat, I guess, but basically that website is K&J Magnetics. Oh great. Yeah, so I use K&J Magnetics. I like them because they carry a variety of sizes, so they have everything from like 1/4 inch plus diameter all the way down to 1/16 inch diameter, and so you can get some really tiny magnets. And yeah, so I buy the neodymium magnets. They're the strongest ones. N52 is what I buy. And yeah, I really enjoy using them. Magnets have their uses, you know, when compared to pinning. Like this would be almost too thin for a, what am I thinking? A pin, unless I just drilled straight through. So, although that explains why the fit is so bad. There's like a big gap right here. But yeah, so they have their uses. You can kind of, you know, stack them together, so you can put like a magnet here and then a magnet through here, and this one will stick to this one, and I'll cover it later. But yeah, I use that website. Their shipping is super fast, their customer service is great. There is another store in the US that carries them that someone else in this hobby recommended to me, but I haven't given them a look. So I do recommend like depending on what kit you work on, your magnet size is going to vary. So when you're looking at your kit, kind of try to figure out what size the area is, and that way you'll have an idea of how big your magnets need to be. Unfortunately, like, I don't have a lot of magnets right now. I actually just placed an order last week because I used almost all of them for my commission kit, and so I put a new order in, so I'll have a bunch more to show off when I get them. But yeah, I think all I have right now are some 1/8 inch left. Actually, I have a bunch in a cup over here. I keep a lot of cups full of scraps. Like, I got my sandpaper cup and I got this one full of stuff. But let me see. So these are all glued together, which is why they're in my scrap pile. But so this is a 1/8 inch magnet. Let's see if I can peel it off. They also stick together because I glued things wrong. So yeah, I can't get them off. But yeah, so this is a 1/8 inch magnet, 1/8 inch diameter. And so if you have a 1/8 inch drill head or drill bit, that is what you'll use for this. And so you want to try to match up your sizes of your drill bits to the size of your magnets to get an exact fit. The other size I have here in a little pile, and they're all glued together, is 1/16 inch. And so I just dropped it. I'll show you a size comparison. Let's see. Oh god, the spoon haul. Okay, I'll show that after. But yeah, so this is a 1/8 inch and this is a 1/16 inch, and they just stuck together because they're magnets. But you can see the difference here. They're super big, super small. You can get them 1/4 inch diameter, which is pretty darn large. It's like about that big. You can also get them in different lengths, so you'll need to factor that in with your kit too. So this is, I forgot what diameter or length this is. I think it's 1/8 inch. Yeah, I think it's 1/8 inch. I think the next size down is 1/32, but if not, it might be 1/16. Anyway, I'm ranting. You can get them in longer sizes like this too. So this is 1/16 inch, but it's a 1/4 inch length. Yeah, there's a lot of different sizes, and yeah, they get really small. So I usually work with 1/16 inch magnets or 1/8 inch magnets. Those are my biggest sizes, but like on that Abby kit, I used a 1/4 inch, and some of those pieces were pretty large, so they needed a strong bond. Spoon haul. I might as well grab my stuff too for that. Let me just grab my spoons. Okay. Yeah, so I went to the store today because I will be painting some other stuff soon, or at least starting to, and so I wanted to work on mixing colors and just testing palettes and stuff. And so the thing that modelers do in this hobby, particularly garage kit builders, is we use spoons to test on because they're a nice, beautifully curved surface. They're already white or whatever color you want, clear, blue, red. They come in so many different sizes, I guess. And yeah, they're just really useful. So I bought 200 of them, today, just because I was pretty much out. This is my loot haul today. $5 worth of spoons. So well, you can see I actually did paint a spoon today, and I've got a whole jar of spoons. I can show that too. I was testing some reds, so you can see that this is just plain old red, Gaia Notes, regular red, which is actually exactly what I needed for the kit that I'm gonna paint. And so you can test shading along the sides. So you spray your spoon one color, and then you can add your shading, and it'll give you a lot of different results. You can mask it off, so you can do like half and half. Every modeler I know at this point uses spoons, and so I've actually got a whole jar of spoons too. I won't show off my real spoon haul, but my spoon collection is beautiful and multicolored. It's also stuck full of alligator clips, as you can see. I have a whole section here just of skin toned. Hey, thanks for the follow, Cal Warden. I'm showing off my collection of spoons. What a beautiful thing. So what I like to do lately, I keep all of these skin tone spoons around just because I have various mixes. So I write down the mixture on here. In this case, this is Gaia Notes Surfaceless Orange and pink, Surfaceless Pink. So Gaia Notes 059 and 060. I've got a bunch of mixes of them here. I also have mixtures for previous kits I did that I keep as reference. So this one is Abigail Williams. Oh god, dropping my spoons. So I've got Abby's kit, the one that's in my past builds. Oh, she's right there right now. Yeah, all of these are colors that I tested on her kit, and so what you can do is you end up really nice collection of spoons, and you can tell right away what colors will work and which ones won't with the tone of a kit. This is Nemarine, so as you can see, this one I won't open them up, I kind of tape them off, but these are all colors that I used on Nemarine, and I keep them around because I write down all of my paint mixtures in a notebook, and so what I can do is, you know, I'll look up in my notebook, oh, what did I paint Nemarine's, like, you know, her base, and then I can pull it out and I'll be like, oh, this is what the color looks like. And so this has been really helpful as like a visual demonstration, you know, of the things that are in my notebook. I just, at this point, shove them all in here. Yeah, I was thinking, I don't know who was it, if they were in OFC, and they said just make a wall of spoons, and I thought, what a beautiful idea. They'll end up being like a beautiful rainbow of colors. Just rando. Yeah, I enjoy looking at my spoons. These ones, they're kind of scratching off because I just threw them in here. These are ones I used on Cherno. I don't keep the reject spoons, so I paint many more spoons than this, and I throw the ones that I don't end up using away. I got random mixtures here, but anyway. Oh, this one's really nice too. Nice green. But yeah, so that's my spoon collection. I will be painting spoons on this stream when it gets to be that time. A lot of what I do is testing mixtures and then painting them and seeing if it's the color if I want, and then if not, I'll alter it a little bit. I write down all my mixtures, so it'll be kind of a tedious process as we're going along, but eventually we'll get there. And at this point, I have an idea of what I want to do with, you know, when I get to that point, and so mixing colors is generally not a problem. So you won't really see me, you know, hopefully mixing for hours on end. Yeah, wouldn't the wall be nice? I think that would be so cool. Just like a visual wall. Maybe not necessarily the whole spoon, but like cut off the head of the spoon and then have it on a wall with other stuff. Things that artists think of. Like any normal person walk in, why do you have a bunch of spoons on your wall? Like, what the hell? Just, you know, just spoon things. Oh, I should show off my notebook too. So I won't open it up because it's company secrets, but this is the notebook that I use. Let's see. Yeah, I have paint figures or paint recipes and assorted figure wisdom, as I'm, you know, so wise. There's not really much in there right now. Like, these are the only pages I filled out, but yeah. Make a collage of a big spoon. Oh my god, yeah, I could do like pixel art but with spoons. And have just a big photo and all the different colors. Or could make, yeah, I could make an entire thing out of it, yeah. There are many opportunities to use these spoons. Anyway, back to sanding. This frills on this are a mess. And the top of this is looking pretty rough. I'm gonna have to sand this down quite a bit. Oh man. Yeah, let me look at it real quick. I am sanding it down and there's already a bunch of bubbles. So this is getting into that point where I said, this kit has a lot of issues and I can tell, but we're gonna get there. Yeah, this entire headband is filled with bubbles. I'm not even gonna pop them just because I know they're there. And you don't want to sand down too much. Like, it's already getting pretty angular and pointy here. Yep, spoons are great. I did hear actually that Australia will soon be going through a spoon shortage. Apparently they banned like something plastic over there. And so one of the groups I'm in was freaking out and buying up all the spoons in the supermarket. Because I don't know what's happening, if they're just not planning to sell them anymore or what's going on, but alert your Australian friends, Australian modelers, that spoons may not be available in certain areas anymore. Gotta import them. Okay. Another thing about these frills is that it's very easy to sand them down too much, and then it's just, they don't look that great. And so I'm gonna do a visual inspection here. The seam line also runs all along them, and it's kind of making the details look not so great. Ugh, okay. Yeah. So there's gonna be a bunch of little, like, mini carving that needs to happen, as well as sanding to get these into shape. It's also gonna happen on the frills of her skirt as well. This is like mini trial of it. Yep, spoon hoarding. Gotta hoard it. Never know what, you know, decisions will be made in your local and federal government to regulate the spoon market. So I recommend keeping a healthy backlog of spoons. Okay. Yeah, at this point I'm just basically gonna have to go in and kind of carve and re-sculpt some of these frills. Sometimes I save this for the second process, so when I'm pinning, but these are pretty darn messed up, so. Yeah, you should invest in spoon stocks. It's always a need for them among modelers. It was crazy. Yeah, the guy had so many packs of them. He's just holding on to them. But really, they are useful. You know, we joke about them all the time, but because they are, such a nice, smooth, curved surface, it does make, and then they're not going to melt, if you put lacquer on them. They're really useful for testing colors. I go through more spoons than I'd like to admit. And it can help. You can use the front and back of them too. So you can use like the front of the spoon and then the inside too. And you'll get slightly different results because the shadows will form on it. But if you want to maximize your spoon, use both sides. Okay. Okay, that, like, a literal chunk just came out of this and I didn't even do anything. So, like, I barely even tapped into that. What is happening here? This side too. Like a softer feel. Okay. Well, I'll go with the sanding then. Yeah, it's weird. This resin feels a little bit softer. I can kind of feel it bending more. I don't know what's going on. Okay. Part of this is just like, the sculpt already is pretty rough. And so I don't want to change it too much, but at the same time, I want it to look nice. Okay. A lot of looking before you carve into stuff needs to happen, especially if you're working with details. Okay. Yeah, so essentially, like, you have to go in the middle here, and then down in the middle here, and then the middle here, and work back and forth. And yeah, details are pretty rough inside, and on top of each of these there's a little indent for the frill, I guess. It looks hand sculpted. So I don't want to mess with those details either or carve more of that out, and so really all I'm doing is working on the inner edges of the frill and the top, and then leaving the sides the same for now. But I may have to go back in and fix those sides a little too, depending on how much I carve and sand out from the middle. So this is a slightly more advanced stuff once you get to the point where you're like enhancing the sculpt, you know. You're just starting out, you don't really need to do any of that. You can just try to sand the seam lines off as best you can and smooth things down and then move on. Because you're really not going to see, like, her little headband here won't be the highlight of the kit anyway. And I'm looking and I can't tell if these are little bubbles or if it's just like black things from my sandpaper. So I'm just gonna keep going. Let's see. The chunk I took off is smoothing down too now, so that's good. Once you wash your kit as well, you'll have a better idea of what it looks like, because right now there's like little bits of resin dust still stuck in there. You can blow it all out, but you know, washing it will remove all of that too. Oh gosh, okay. This is all... might not mess with that. Let me grab another 800. Cut this. I need a really small piece for these small detailed areas. And you look at it and I'm like, oh, I'm so far, and it's like there's that much left of the frills. Oh. Okay. I'm not feeling this song. Sorry, again. Okay, keep going. I keep like defaulting back to the X-Acto knife, but the space in between this frill is so small I can't even get my X-Acto knife in there. So this is where, you know, like a hobby specific tool like a sharper tiny rounded point would come in handy here, but I just don't have access to that tool right now, so I will come back to that. I'm going to focus more on this stuff over here while I brainstorm a method to get into that crevice. You can also kind of drill it out. I've done that before. Okay, blowing away some dust, moving the insides of this frill with a 400 grit sandpaper, blowing away some of the dust. I don't have my mask on right now. Should put it on, but the dust that's coming off of this is pretty small right now, so I'll put it on after. Doesn't help, the resin's also kind of two colors, and so what looks like a seam line is actually just the resin that I sanded down. You can also go in with a Q-tip and just kind of brush it out, or if you have a small hobby brush, that will work too. Okay. Primer is going to be something on this one too. It's going to find a lot of issues, I can already tell. Let's see. So I haven't washed it yet. No. Okay, and a little misconception here, so I do want to clear that up. What we call mold release in this hobby isn't actual mold. So it's basically leftover oily residue that's left on the kit after it is taken out of the mold. And so you've got your mold, usually some sort of casting agent is sprayed into the mold or put in there in order to let the pieces come apart easier. And so once you pour your liquid resin in and that comes out, you need a way to get your mold out of the kit. And the mold release kind of provides a barrier between your silicone mold or whatever and the resin. And so kits that come out of a mold have what we call mold release on them, and it's just that leftover residue. And so what the purpose of the bath is to remove the residue from that kit and basically prepare it so when you add your primer on, you'll have a clean, flat surface to put it on. And so if there's anything oily on it or dirty, if you have oils from your fingers all over it, your primer might not stick as well, and so that's going to cause your paint to peel off. And so yeah, what we'll do after this, I'm just doing all of the initial prep work on it, which is usually the bulk of the work on a kit, is all the sanding, the initial sanding. Then you put it in your bath, which can be any product as long as it contains a degreaser. And so like dishwashing soap with a degreaser will work. I use Simple Green, which is an all-purpose cleaner, but it does contain degreasing agents in it, and so that will clear it off. There's also hobby specific cleaners at this point, like it's called Resin Wash by Gaia Notes. That will work. You can put your kits in an ultrasonic cleaner because the cleaning agent from the ultrasonic cleaner will take off all the degreased stuff. So there's a variety of ways to do it. Just depends what tools you have available, what products are available in your country, that sort of thing. But yeah, so no mold will actually be growing on these kits. If that were the case, my closet would be very concerning right now because I have so many kits that have been sitting in there for years. And that would be kind of really scary to open them up and they're all fuzzy. No, it's good. I'm glad you're asking those questions because that would be what your mind immediately goes to. And the only reason I never thought that is because I was always talking in forums and stuff when I was first starting out to people of this hobby. And I remember one of the things I was really confused about was what a tab was. Like everybody on these forums kept saying, I have a flash tab, I have a nub, I have a whatever. And I was like, what are they even talking about? And no one's ever taken the time to say, this little piece sticking out is called a nub. And so eventually I had to ask somebody. I was like, I don't know what you guys are talking about. So you'll never know until you ask questions. So thank you. Yeah, I can absolutely see how that would be a misconception. Okay. Yeah, ask me as many questions as you guys want, guys, about kit building or even just random stuff. Okay. Nice. The sides stand off really nice. It's just the top of the frills and the inside is a wreck. I'll work on this side too and then go back into the frills again. And also the pieces are so small, so I'm covering the whole piece as I'm sanding it, so sorry guys. Try to adjust it so you can see the piece a little better. Sanding down both sides of the hairband or Maid band, I guess. This one I don't see any bubbles on this side, but the seam line is pretty deep. Okay. Doing it again. Hey Marcy, is that you? What's up, my man? I'm sanding right now. Sanding some hairband on this Maid kit. And the frills are kind of a mess, so I'm just kind of going all over it right now. Nice. What are you up to today? Tonight. Yeah, it's tonight for you as well. Ooh, how is that game? I vaguely remember playing the first one. I don't think I ever beat it. I did see all the trailers for that second one and it looked pretty nice. We got a friend that wants to play that game too. I don't know if they've bought it yet. Oh, good. We've got a household watching me then. Hello, Marcy's girlfriend, if you are watching right now. I have been sanding in all of my streams, so really you haven't been missing that much. This process is very long and one of the most labor-intensive parts besides painting. Depends on your kit though, to be honest, so. Hey Autumn, you too. What's up? Classic JRPG. Oh, nice. Sorry, I'm reading comments. I stopped sanding for a sec. Nice. Yeah, I love those JRPGs. JRPGs. I just struggle to find like the time anymore, and also the motivation. Like the story has to be really good for me to continue it. And honestly, I'm pretty picky. Like the story's got to be amazing. The voice acting like has to be pretty good. The art, you know, because there's just so many of them out there. I find myself just replaying old JRPGs instead. Oh, great! Yeah, I get around. But I'm glad you're taking the time to watch me. I do appreciate it. I've just been sanding this whole time, so yeah, this is, if you ever start building kits or if you're interested, this is a pretty big part of it, and just zoning out, sanding things down. Model kits that like Marcy builds still got quite a bit of sanding, but it's on a different level compared to resin kits, so. Yeah, I don't remember. I don't know why I stopped playing Bravely Default. I might also be thinking of a different game that I played that was in a similar style to that, but I just couldn't get into it at all because it was like time based. Like time as in time, the concept where you would go back and forth, and it wasn't like a regular timed RPG that, you know, you had a meter, it was a turn-based or whatever. I don't know. What am I even thinking of? Maybe it's that one, but yeah, and it was just so difficult. Maybe that is the one that I'm thinking of, and it was so insanely hard. I just remember the first dungeon was really, really difficult, and I was like, this is not enjoyable. And I'm generally like pretty patient because I was interested in the story and willing to go with it, but I couldn't do it. It must have been that one, because I remember the art was so like simple but beautiful, and the style was really similar to 2. Maybe not. I don't know. Okay, yeah, maybe it wasn't that one then, because I definitely like didn't play it 8 times. There was one JRPG, I just remember I was really patient about it, and I just couldn't get into it, and the first dungeon was so insanely hard, which again, that probably isn't very helpful. There's probably a lot of JRPGs like that, but glad you're enjoying it, or hope you're enjoying it. Hope it holds up, you know, to the first one. Okay, doing pretty good on this actually. So once I sanded down the top of the frills, it's starting to look a lot more cohesive and how I want it to look like. I think just all of that extra flash stuff was, and the seam line was really throwing me off to the shape, and the shadows were casting kind of a weird light. So I've got most of the top sanded down at this point. I can see there's a few seam lines still running in between the cracks here, and so I'm gonna go in with my X-Acto knife and kind of see if I can carve those out. If not, a folded sandpaper should do the trick. I found it very rare that there's any cases I need an additional tool besides these two. So what I might do though is switch out my X-Acto knives, because last time I think I mentioned that I broke the tip off of it and I can feel it's getting a little bit less sharp. So let me do this first and then we'll see. I mean, Marcy, I'm not a huge fan of all Final Fantasies either. I'm a big fan of the old school ones, which is like 6 and below. And then after that, I've really only played a handful of the other Final Fantasies. So I played like 10, I played 15. God, is that it? Yeah, I think I played like the MMO. I played 14 for a long time. But yeah, I kind of skipped 7 through 13 just because I was a Nintendo kid, and so once it went to PlayStation, I didn't have access to it. I did get a PlayStation in high school, which is why I was able to play 10. Oh, and I played 10-2 a lot, which is like the black sheep of the Final Fantasy family. But I actually really liked that game because I would come home from high school and just like pop it in and do some random shit in it, and it was really fun. I really liked all the costume changes. Yeah, I don't know what it is. These tips of the X-Acto knives are so delicate. I don't even remember what I was doing and why I broke it. I think I was carving something. Oh, no, I know what I was doing. So I was pinning with magnets and I messed up one of my magnet positions. And so what I like to do is sometimes, like imagine this is a magnet hole and it's got a magnet in it. I go in with my X-Acto knife and I try to pry it out, but it almost never works. I don't know why I keep doing this because the glue I have is so strong. So I just end up breaking the tip of the X-Acto knife off in the like magnet hole, and it's just ridiculous. So yeah, the trick for magnets and drilling is make sure that you know exactly what you're doing, and I will show you guys exactly what you need to do so you don't have to be like that and break off tips of your X-Acto knives. Okay, grabbing the paper again. I think I will grab another X-Acto blade, so give me one sec. I think I have it over here in my stuff. Yeah. Okay. So I have a little, it's not really one drawer, it's like a mini set of drawers that I keep all of my hobby stuff in. So I've just got a bunch of X-Acto knives here. If you buy X-Acto knives in the shop, they'll generally come in a pack of, you know, a bunch, so you'll have a lot to work with. And you can see the well, let me compare the tip here and this tip here. Well, kind of hard for camera to pick up, but the whole tip is off, and yeah, it's really only that tiny edge, but I feel it getting dull. So I guess what you could also let me show you how I do it if I can remember. It's been a while. Wait one sec. What is happening? It's being really sticky today. Okay, this is weird. I've literally never had this happen before, but my X-Acto knife is super stuck. So I will figure that out in a little bit. Put these away so I don't stab myself, because these are very sharp. Unused blades. Let me grab something. Do this off screen real quick. Okay, I'm not gonna mess with that. I'm just gonna continue on, and then once I get it out, I'll show you guys later. Okay. not a big deal. You just want perfect sharpness. Let's see. Have I been to Wonderfest? No, I haven't. And yes, Marcy, it's called Wonderfest or something similar with Wonder in the title, but it is unrelated to Wonder Festival JP, so Japanese Wonder Festival. It's basically a Western resin convention. And yeah, so like sculptors from all over the US will have their own, and a lot of it focuses on like Western busts and comic book, resins. I actually know a woman who does go there every year, and she is kind of prominent in the garage kit field. Her name is Anya, so she has Anya's Workshop. That's her name and her Facebook page. She's been in the hobby forever, but she basically only works with US or Western style resin kits these days, and she goes to Wonderfest or whatever it's called every year. Yeah, that's the one. I know it's kind of like in the Midwest area, and it's held there, I think every year. But yeah, it seems super cool. I've never been, just because like never had a real reason to drive out there or go there. But if given the opportunity, I would like to go someday. Same with convention in Texas that's focused on like Warhammer and like miniatures, because some of those are crazy, the techniques that artists have, and they're real pros, and they hold like live workshops and stuff at the events. That would be a lot of fun to go to. It's just like a giant painting convention. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the one that Chris was talking about. That's the one I was interested in. He said there were so many like workshops and live painting sessions and stuff, and how cool would that be to like, those are the kind of panels that I would actually go to. I don't go to panels at cons because I'm just like, anime trivia number 5, like I'm not really into that. Or cosplay 101 for like the 15th time, because once you go to enough conventions, like all of the panels pretty much are more or less the same. But yeah, I would absolutely go to like a painting, resin convention that offered those. I wish Wonder Festival offered stuff like that for a little while. And I'm talking about Japanese Wonder Festival now. There are like live events that happen there sometimes where they like live stream stuff, and that would be cool. I think there was a pretty famous sculptor who did that. I'm just ranting at this point, but yeah. Yeah, man, yeah, you get to see like new products and stuff too, and see how they're like properly used. So like, you can go on YouTube and see how people are using stuff, but to see it done like right there would be super cool. Go to cons just to watch anime. Yeah, it's a good way to do that too. Plus the rooms are nice and dark, and so you can just go there and like take a quick nap. Because I'm old and walking around the convention after buying stuff for 2 hours, I'm like, I need to sit down. But yeah, it's always funny. Oh yeah. Yeah, Monkey. Yeah, I mean, it seems like a really cool festival. I do like, Western resin stuff, even though I don't really paint any of that. Some of the techniques they use are so different, and plus like being able to see industry pros. I know I already said this, but it would just be so cool to like meet the artists behind things like that. Actual real sculptors. That's how I felt when I went to Wonder Festival Japan. I was just like, oh my god, this is unreal. Like I'm walking by their booth, I'm seeing this person in real life. They're not just like an internet presence. It's always spooky. Plus stuff like this hobby is just so, small. It's like the hobby itself is really small. The amount of artists are like all over the world, so it's scattered, so you can't just like go on Google and be like, hey, local garage kit group near me, unlike Gunpla, where you just like build at your model shop. So yeah, Katsucon was a lot of fun. God, I wish it was happening again, right? Like all of the COVID and everything just killed conventions. I like went out today for the first time in forever, and I was just like, There's a sun outside. I can like do things outside. Yeah, gosh, Autumn, I love artist expos too. It's actually the first thing I go for, whenever possible. Like, if depends on the layout of the con, but I either hit up the artist alley first or the regular shops to see if I can get any good deals. Because most of the stuff at the cons is pretty overpriced, and it's like, oh, I can buy this cheaper online, so I don't end up buying stuff. But sometimes you just want to browse and you see like a keychain you just want, so that's always fun. But vast majority of the time I come out with way more art than I do like stuff I've bought on the non-artist alley side. Oh, is it really canon? Yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all. I also saw that SDCC this year, they've already decided to cancel that one again too, and they're holding a smaller online event, but apparently the event will be even smaller this year because they don't have as much funding. So it's like, oh my god, it's one thing for a con to have to miss 1 year like of being a convention, but 2, like I don't know how many cons can survive that. They already operate with such little funding anyway. It's all volunteers and stuff. Just a shame, because I really miss going to cons, and a lot of people, related, not necessarily this hobby, but even anime, manga, game, it's how we see our friends. It's how we go out, we go to cons and just have fun. So not having any of that is pretty rough. I hope by next year things will finally, be open again and we'll have a chance to go out to these conventions, because it's pretty sad. That's all I gotta say. I miss the overpriced Ramonade drinks that you could buy for $6 a bottle. And the haichu. It's always haichu. Thinking of stuff. Yeah, Marcy. Ironically, that was my very first commission that I accepted, and so I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go big or go home, and try to make this as best as I can. Yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be still a long time before I want to do plaid again. That was so time consuming, and because it was my first commission, I didn't bill the client nearly as much as I should have. But I was like, you know what? Whatever. Because that plaid took forever, and it was all a one shot too. I don't actually remember. It was above 500. Was it more than 1,000? I'm talking US dollars. I don't think so. I charged pretty low on that one because I was figuring out, I didn't even know at that point how long commissions would take me. Because at that point I had just been building personally, and I never really recorded myself besides like once or twice, but during that one I started doing it, and I was still pretty bad about figuring out how much time it needs, so I gave the client a lower time estimation than I actually did, and then I did way more than that. And so it's rough when you commission for people, like finding out how much time something actually takes versus what they realistically can actually pay is kind of hard. I know a lot of people in this hobby who undercharge their commissions, and they probably shouldn't, based on the amount of time it takes them. But I don't know their time and how long it takes them, so it could be accurate. For me, I almost always end up eating the cost of some of the commission, just because things don't go right, or I want to improve on something, or the eyes always take me forever, so it just depends. And I don't really have a huge idea of what the kit looks like until I get it in my hands. So I ask for commission photos of the person who has the kit at the moment, so I can make an estimation of the time. But then after that, I can't see all the bubbles and stuff that's wrong with it. It's only when I'm looking at it real close that I can figure it out. So having the kit in person is a completely different experience, and then you'll be like, oh, I see. So I generally give people these days, now that I've figured out things, more or less the ballpark that it will end up at, and I've been able to meet that mark pretty consistently, minus sometimes like the extra time I spend on eyes. But that's more just like me also practicing on my eye style, so I don't really mind that aspect or that extra time loss. And I'm not doing this to be, or at least I wasn't accepting commissions to be like crazy profitable anyway. I know a couple members and people in this hobby that, you know, they actually rely on that income and commission income, but for me it's more of a side passion, and so I'm not as pressed to like do a bunch of commissions and you know, get all of that, so I don't mind charging people a little less. Okay, update on the frills, because I've just been kind of ranting about different stuff. I have sanded almost all of the frills at this point. I have been gently carving in some of the details. I do notice, now that I'm looking at it, there's some bubbling happening on the areas that I'm carving, so I think it's a combination of the cast not being super great and just the details not being amazing. I'm gonna have to go in with a bunch of putty and build, like, kind of smear it over here and see if any bubbles pop up, but don't think there's, well, there's a lot left to do, but I don't want to over carve either. Okay, I'm gonna go in with the 800 a little bit more and try to smooth out these areas that I just carved out. Also, again, once you, like, you know, your eyes are kind of crossing because you're looking at something so close, take a step back and look at it again under, you know, when the figure's kind of put together, because that'll give you an idea of what you have done and haven't done. So, and you can look at it kind of far away too. So I'm looking down at it now and I'm definitely seeing the bubbles that I thought. Seam line is still kind of there on some of them. Just really rough in general. Let's see. Oh, I like this song. Okay. Shoe pieces. Oh, what? Are you working on a kit right now? What are you working on, Alisor? I'm just like leaning in right now, being a little slower, figuring out what I need to work on. I'm gonna sand these sides too. They're still got some seam line on them. Oh, that's awesome. Oh, that's super cool. Yeah, shoe customs are really cool. I actually don't really know like how that works besides knowing like a lot of people use Copics or Sharpies, but like how do you seal a shoe? Oh, and Pokemon cards too. Oh, that's cute. I love that. I don't have the skills at all to draw. The most I always did was like chibi stuff, and then I basically stopped doing that after college, and so any chibi, I actually do draw chibis sometimes. What I used to do is draw a chibi of the figure that I'm working on and then take colored pencils and like color it how I want to do it, and so I would end up with like a colored drawing of the kit before I'm gonna paint it. But these days I am way too lazy for that. I just take the original sculptor's photos and manipulate it in Photoshop. It's like the same thing. Oh, interesting. So it's just like a spray can top coat or something like that. And I assume you don't, excuse me, actually wear these shoes, or is it just like display type shoes? I know nothing about that aspect of that hobby. Water down acrylic paint. Yeah, resistant. Cool. Yeah, I love it. That's awesome. Oh, also my phone almost just fell off. Okay, put this down. Do you mostly draw like anime stuff or like Pokemon on shoes? Because I have seen so many like anime custom shoes, and those are super cool on like canvas sneakers and stuff. Marcy, you also got to send some of those photos to me. I'm interested. Okay. And then this hair, or frills. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna hold this up to the light real quick so you guys won't see it. Yep, I was correct. So there are so many little tiny bubbles on the insides of the frills. And I think that's a lot of what I was seeing is the reflection of those bubbles and just the impression of them. So what I'm gonna do is smooth out one more area and I'm gonna move on because I knew that the ribbon has a bunch of bubbles, at least on the end tips. And oh my goodness. Yeah, I'm gonna work on that one later too. Can I try? Yeah, I gotta see it. Tell Marcy to send me a couple examples. I'm very curious. Anybody that has the talent to draw, like I'm already envious because that's pretty cool. It's a cool talent to have. I cannot draw Pokemon. I think the most I can draw is Maid Pikachu from memory, and then the rest. Oh, and Oddish, because Oddish is my favorite. But anyone other than that, I'll be like, yeah, this blob is not Ditto, it's another guy. Okay. Knowing that this has a lot of bubbles now, I don't know how much more I want to do on it because I'm going to be puttying a lot and trying to repair stuff later anyway. So I'm going to check how this fits one last time. The fit is weird. Let's see this fit. Fit on both of these is really weird. I don't know why there's this big gap between the hairband and the actual like hair. That's a kind of a sign of poor casting, poor sculpting, is when the pin area, like the area that the tab is supposed to go in, doesn't even work. You're like, why, why is the fit so bad? Like, and that's also why it's kind of tilting back and forth, is because there's so much wiggle room here. Nice, thanks, Marcy. I love Hamtaro. So yeah, I was gonna say Pikachu, like drawing Pikachu, but oops, I grew up drawing Hamtaros, and so I can still draw Hamtaro from scratch. May not be accurate Hamtaro, but I can definitely draw him. I remember he's all I drew in 6th grade. Like I just drew Hamtaros all over my notebook. Okay, anyway, I'm just kind of doing random stuff on this kit now. But yeah, the wiggle room's really bad, you can see. This is just me wiggling it back and forth because there's a gap. So I'm gonna move on. I don't know if I'll fix that later. A magnet will fix all of that wiggling anyway. But yeah. So let's see, what to continue on. Should I do arms or just start the bloomers? How much time we got? 20 minutes. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna start the bloomers. This is definitely not gonna finish tonight. Just wanting to get it going. So I'll have something to work on Monday. So can't believe it's already Wednesday. Let me get a drink real quick. So yeah, this is my last stream for this week. But I will be working on these bloomers until 10 p.m. Maybe a little bit after, we'll see how I feel. But then the next stream will be on Monday. So keeping it Monday and Wednesday. This week has gone by so quickly. Today I was so busy. I had a bunch of errands to run because it was one of the few sunny days that we've had recently. It's been pretty rainy and dark. and I had to get my vehicle tested for emissions testing. It's like the yearly thing we have to do here. So I wanted to do it all on a sunny day. So that was good. Although, oh my god, it took like over an hour in line trying to get this emissions tested just because people have no idea what they're doing. They don't know how to connect a plug to their vehicle. So there's one guy in front of me and I timed him and he took over 15 minutes to like figure out how this 2-button system works. It's just ridiculous. So then I was like, I'm gonna go back inside and not go out again because it took me like 3 minutes. People. Just, you know, outside things. Let's see. I'm gonna hold this piece up to the light real quick, just so I have an idea of what I'm dealing with. So the piece is interesting. There's a seam line that runs all along the bloomers. I can see there's quite a few bubbles in her legs, but I'm not sure if they are like really deep inside the resin or if they're poppable. And there is one bubble on her little like buckle of her shoes here, so I'm gonna take that out real quick while I see it. It's very much at the surface. Yep, so it just popped it. I didn't even need to drill into it. Sometimes you can just take your drill or your pin vise and just push into the bubble and it'll pop it out. So okay, continuing. The resin also is kind of like stripy, so it's kind of got 2 different colors going on here. This again looks like the sign of someone who cast this at home. So this looks like a hand brewed batch of resin, as opposed to one cast by a professional workshop. So a lot of figure sculptors these days are opting just to send their kits to a workshop, and there are a couple of the people that offer that service, and so what you get are like consistently good kits out of it. Of course that comes at a cost, right? So a lot of times you don't see those kits from smaller sculptors like this. They're still doing it at home. They've got this kind of yellowy beigey resin as opposed to the nice clean white stuff like this. So you can see the color difference here. This is a really nicely cast piece of resin. There's no holes in it whatsoever, no indents, no yellow beiginess. There were basically no seam lines on this piece as opposed to this one. So just different interesting things. Yeah, so yeah, that's kind of the crazy difference between resin. Just because you get an original kit doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be like in good quality or flawless texture and all of that. Very much depends on a number of things. I've got resin that is anywhere between like brilliant white compared to this color compared to a really dark yellow. Maybe I'll bring one of those out someday. I even have that hot green one that I was talking about before, which was 3D printed in a bright green for a white bunny kit. Like, oh my god. But yeah, that's what primer's for. The benefit of like having a kit like this, which is really nicely cast and just all white resin, so like these, is that you can use a clear primer on this. So the same as a regular primer. Primer will cover your surface and usually it's colored, so you can get like gray primer, a white primer. They also make clear primer, which is used for a variety of reasons. It's used on clear pieces, it's used on Gundams, it's used on metal parts, but you can also use clear resin on pieces that are already really, really white, and that way any color that you spray on top of it will just be off of this white resin's color. That eliminates the need of like smoothing down your other primer too, because when you spray any primer you're gonna get like fuzzies and stuff. But yeah, clear primer is very interesting. This piece is actually sprayed with clear primer, and then I added a little bit of white primer on too, just because I thought maybe there were some problem areas. It turns out it wasn't, so then you can just sand it off. Okay, keep going. Almost used out this 800. But yeah, I'll cover all of that too, primers and stuff, later on. I have a handful of them. I have many different brands at this point. I'm looking up at my shelves. I've been using clear a couple of times. It's got its uses, but in general I prefer white primer. Almost always. I have a bunch of gray primers, I always buy way too many and I rarely use them these days. It's always white primer on white resiny anime kits. But gray primer is great for finding issues with your kit, you know. It's got extra seam lines or bubbles and stuff. Gray will find that really easily, your eye will pick it up. Whereas white, it's a little harder to spot sometimes, so. Sanding down her bloomer. This one you can also easily compare in here. So really we won't see anything below, you know, up here you won't see it, but down here, right at about the gap point or where her bloomer sticks out, that's where we'll start to see it. So I especially want to make sure that I sand all of that down. Up here is kind of like the extra bonus stuff, but just depends how much attention you want to give your kit. No one's going to see things from, you know, certain perspectives, and you can only reveal as much as you want online. So if you, really depends what you want. Is what I'm getting at. If you don't want to put the work into fixing like stuff up here, totally fine. I personally would feel bad, so I work on everything. Always got to paint the pantsu and stuff, you know. Can't leave it blank. Oops, dropped this piece or sandpaper. What I'm also doing right now, let me get another piece of sandpaper, is I'm kind of carving out and sanding out one of the folds of the bloomers. And so what I do is if an area is not well defined or if it looks like there's already a line there, I generally take my X-Acto knife, and there are many carving hobby tools that will do this too. But you shave out the area and then I sand it down with sandpaper, and so that'll give you the effect of the area that was supposed to be clear and sculpted. Basically I'm just enhancing the sculpt a little. This is this process, it's a little more advanced. You don't have to do this as a beginner, but I did it a lot on my current commission, so I'm just kind of showing what it looks like now. But yeah, there's all sorts of carving tools that'll do things a lot nicer. Okay, I'm gonna sand this down. Yep, cannot ignore the pantsu. Okay, I'm going a little deeper now, as in digging out some of the resin. There we go. Looking a little bit better now. And then once you have your sandpaper super sharp, you can go in and smooth out. So yeah, it looks a lot better. Still a little bit to smooth down, but let's see if the camera will pick it up. Yeah, so this line running right along here wasn't defined at all before, and now I've got it looking pretty smooth and runs down the kit. So this was because the seam line ran right along it and went straight through that line. So sometimes seam lines can really screw you up, and you got to do kind of a correction job on it. But yeah, I'm mostly happy with it now. Gotta smooth it down a little more. Okay. Yep, okay, moving on. So this looks nice and good. And you can see I stopped here and then the seam line continues along here. Ooh, 1/4 scale, big lady. I still don't own a quarter scale bunny or girl in general. That size is pretty heckin' big. Just saying. How much was shipping on her? Did you get DHL? And was it through AmiAmi? 3 questions at once. I haven't gotten an Ami package in quite a while. I think the last one that I got was Abby, that Amakuni Abby that I showed a while back. I do have a bunch of stuff on pre-order, but it's just like all been delayed. You know how it is, COVID. Okay. Going straight in with the 400 on this. This is a pretty nasty seam line. I knew that the bloomers were in particularly rough shape, which is why I held off from doing them until now. But hopefully there's less bubbles than I thought. Most of them were down in here in her leg area. Hopefully you guys are seeing the kit okay too. I know I've been like covering up a lot of it this time because the pieces are starting to get smaller and smaller. And I'm kind of holding it at weird angles because my line of sight is like here, so. It's true. You're not wrong, Paula. Shipping 5,900 yen. That's not that bad, actually. That's a pretty average price. Assuming if you got it through DHL, that's actually a pretty good deal. Because even my EMS ones can sometimes be like, you know, 4,000 yen. Mr. Freaky, what knife is that? So this is an old school comfort grip handle X-Acto knife. Branded X-Acto right here. It honestly couldn't tell you or give you a product link right now because this is, gosh, I've had this for almost a decade at this point. Like this used to be a really nice cool gray and now it's just like green ass gray because it's, you know, changed color over the years. But I like it because it does have this indent, and so what I can do is hold it almost like a pencil and, you know, dig things out that way, as opposed to like, I think a lot of them are thin vicey style where it's just, you know, metal and thin and your hand, you know, is rubbing against the edge of it and it hurts after a while. So what I would recommend looking up is like comfort grip X-Acto handle or something like that. And a product similar to this will probably show up. But yeah, it's plasticky, and this is more of a textured rubber, which is nice and soft, so it helps a lot. Ah, good. Yeah, definitely. Especially with this hobby, you want to make sure that like you're able to work for a long time without having any pain. Because you know how we are. We're probably like hunched over at our desk, you know, working with things. I definitely, yeah, even I get cramps and stuff pretty easy, so yeah, I highly recommend it. And then let's see. Price was pre-COVID. Oh, that's nice, Marcy. Was it DHL or was it EMS then that you got her shipped at? Oh, I would listen to this song, but I'm not feeling it. I don't even remember this one, so. Okay, getting a seam line down in this crevice. So it's again another sculpted part of the bloomers that the seam line just runs straight through. So I am gonna gently work with it and sand it with the 400 first. Oh, native direct. Okay, well that's pretty good then, to be honest. Like you'll get it probably in a decent amount of time. And then, yeah, 5,900 for a bunny. One bunny is not too bad. Ooh, groovy. I don't even remember saving this song. Okay. Okay. And so once you get like one seam line sanded, I kind of flip the kit at a different direction. And so you want to be working in the direction that the kit is going to go. And that sounds kind of weird. Basically, I won't be sanding it like this if I've got a piece that's like in a crevice here. I want to kind of manipulate it around and make sure I can check from all angles. But yeah, I flip my kit around quite a bit. Let's see. Also, seam line running on the small frills area. I'm gonna shave that down. I can already tell when I prime this, there's going to be some extra work in this detailed area. because you've got kind of a few planes going on here. You've got the, excuse me, the top part of the, oh, I don't know, there's like a little ring around her bloomers, and so you've got the top plane or angle of the bloomer ribbon, you know, detail here. You've got the actual, oh, this is hard to explain. It's like a cylinder, right? And so you've got the top area here, you've got another bottom area here, and then the flat plane here, but it's all on such a small area that it's kind of hard to not oversand it and make sure it's all detailed. More ranting. I don't know if any of that made sense. And let's see. I can also see some resin bubbles inside of the frills. So let me try something real quick. I'm gonna try to poke that out with my X-Acto knife. Okay. More or less was able to get it. So what I basically just did is inside of the detail of this frill, so there's a little crevice here. There was a bubble of resin that I just scraped out with the tip of my X-Acto knife. And this is something that your eye will have trouble picking up, but a camera will definitely pick up. So I'm just gonna try to shave that area out. I don't think I can go in with a sandpaper and get it. It's just too small. You gotta be careful. But what you can do is go in with a sandpaper after and make sure that the flat edge of the bloomer details is all smoothed down. Oh my goodness, yeah. Also the inside of the bloomer connecting to the leg is pretty rough too. So this is gonna be a 2-day job. Okay. And I'm gonna hold it up to the light again. Okay. I'm gonna sand some of the leg, just real quick. Legs, you want to be careful when you're sanding that you don't over sand them. I mean, that goes for all of your kit really, but particularly for the legs because they're rounded in shape. If you go too far, it's just going to look like it's flat on one side, and that will ruin the shadows of your kit and ruin the appearance. So what I'm doing is going pretty quickly with a 400 and rotating the kit back and forth. What you can also do is, like with the cloth sandpaper that I showed off before, have that and then kind of rotate your kit as you're going back and forth. This is usually what I do, or I just kind of move my paper. But yeah, you don't want to over sand this. So what I usually do is go quickly with the 400 and then I go over with an 800 and then see how that seam line is looking. In this case, it's still pretty deep. So I'm gonna keep sanding. It's true. If you only have a flat plane to work on, then it's no problem. But then you have like 80 pieces with flat planes, so... Okay. This seam line is pretty deep. I'm just gonna say that right now. I've already sanded this down twice with the 400 and now twice with the 800, and I can still see it visibly poking out. It's not as if you know, it's an indent in the kit, because sometimes what happens too is you get a seam line and just one side is indented more than the other, and that you can fill with putty and it'll smooth out both sides. But this one, the line is just there. So let me keep going. You can kind of start to see it's getting flatter on one side, so I want to make sure that I keep this side a little bit more sanded down too. Really, you're just trying to keep it as rounded as possible. We all got a backlog, Marcy. Like, don't worry about it. Your 12 is someone else's like 50th, so. As long as you're trying to build, or at least doing other stuff. Better to have it, right? Okay. Doing another look. At this point, I'm just kind of backing up and making sure it looks okay. Sanding. Let me hold it up to the light one more time. Because in this case, the kit is having those two different colors. I can see the seam line when I hold it up to the light, but when I bring it down, it looks pretty flat. And so this is one of those things that primer will really tell you if you have fully sanded this area down or if you're missing some stuff. Also kind of a pain in the butt. There's a bunch of seam line running in between her legs and up, all the way up through the bloomers. In this case, I probably can't do too much besides try to clean it up as much as I can. I'll be able to get the inside of the legs here and probably, you know, the seam line with the X-Acto knife here. But it's gonna be tough. I'm gonna have to like thread the paper through and then sand it kind of like this for these planed edges. So really in between her thighs, there's a seam line there too. So it'll be like this, and that's as much as I can do. Which, yeah, it's a pretty big seam line. We'll figure it out. That's a topic for Monday, next Monday. And yeah, I still see the line here. Ooh, big projects coming up. I'm gonna go just a little bit longer, maybe 10-15 minutes because I got some time. Then, yeah. Thank you for those of you who have tuned in so far to my stream. I always appreciate it. Still getting us going, you know, trying to figure out what works and what doesn't. Venturing into a new territory because I have held off from doing YouTube and all that other stuff for years. Just haven't really been that interested in it. But streaming's, you know, a little easier than I thought. So I'm willing to give that a shot at least. Okay. Oh my goodness. The more I sand down, the more like I see these little spots. Okay. I do see some bubbling happening along her bloomers, along almost the top. So I'm gonna mark that real quick. That's an area that I know I'll need to go in with the putty later. And that's an area that is not seam line. So sometimes these tiny bubbles can look like they're a seam line, but what happens is you get these micro bubbles that form along the seam line edge, especially if the seam line is, or if the two parts of the mold aren't put together properly. And so what looks like, you know, a seam line, you sand it down and ends up having a bunch of bubbles because they just didn't, you know, cast things properly. Okay. Yeah, I get that impression too, Paula. It's just like they have to be focused on one topic. Usually they're kind of clickbaity. I actually don't use a lot. I don't really look at garage kit stuff on YouTube except for a few Japanese modelers. I mean, even then I just watch their stuff sporadically because, you know, yeah, it's just the content isn't there. Most of the stuff's like no one's making content. I don't watch YouTube in general, and so streaming just kind of feels like you're going along with someone and you're able to chat real time, which is nice. And I also am not interested in the post-processing part of things, and so like editing the video, cutting the clips, adding the funny reactions and all of that. It's just, that is not something that I would like to do with my spare time. Like the time that I dedicate besides out of kits, I'm gonna spend studying photography, and so that's where my extra time is gone. Yes, that's true. Yeah, there's a lot of bubbles here. And yes, I do agree. The audience interaction is real time, or almost real time, minus the Twitch delay. And that's really helpful, like both as a creator and for the audience as well. Instead of, you know, watching a video, maybe asking a comment or a question in the comment section, and then, yeah, going from there. Okay, I keep holding this piece up to the light just because I want to make sure that I'm not just sanding randomly, and that it has a purpose, and that I didn't miss the seam line. So I did get almost all of this side of the bloomers, so that's good. That's actually more progress than I thought I would make. So, and I did get a handful of this leg sanded as well. Next time, especially on Monday, I'm going to focus on the details of her bloomers here. Excuse me, I'm just like burping. Because she has these cute little details popping out. I am blanking on the style of this and what it's called. It's almost looking like a flower, but some of these need to be rounded down. They're kind of jagged edged. One of the insides here has a really bad seam line. That was a byproduct of me, or of the casting process. The seam line before, it ran all the way down the leg here, and it hit this frilly area, and it hit underneath this frill, and so it's pretty rough right here. The seam line then continues down the leg, goes all along it. This area here is not a tab, it's actually an insert for her base, and so what will happen is it will just fit like this. So that's really nice. That isn't that often with kits that come with a base and with an insert. So I won't be getting rid of that. Actually, let me get it. Yeah, so it'll look like this. And she'll just sit here, and I don't really even need anything behind besides glue. And maybe a tiny pin here. It looks like there's a guideline. Then the seam line continues up all along the side here, and unfortunately in the insides. So what I'll be focusing on is trying to get all of the outside as well as the inside done next time. I also noticed that she has a really cute detail on the back of her heels. That's something that I didn't notice before with this cast, and it's like a little ribbon or a detail or something. So that'll be fun. Those little areas are always great because then you can add like a gold buckle or something to make the shoe look a little bit, give it a color pop. And so we'll have the shoe with a regular color, maybe not even black, we'll have to think about it. But then I'll probably add an accent color here, gold or silver or something, just to give it a little bit of definition. And then after that, we've got all these pieces remaining. So it looks like a lot, but it's actually only 5 pieces, and most of them are really small. So it's just her arms and then the ribbon. These pieces will probably be time consuming, but next week's schedule, I'd like to wrap up all the sanding. And so if I don't finish all of these by next week, I'm just going to do it on my own time, and then that way we'll be able to move on, because no one wants to watch me sand for endless hours. As much as relaxing a process it may be, you know, I know you guys are tuning in for other stuff too, so we'll see how it goes. I can't really show the bathing process on the screen either, because like I can't move the sink here, and I can't move the camera to the sink. Oh no, sorry, it's not a cat. But yeah, so that's the plan, is next week sanding, finishing up bloomers, and hopefully all of this stuff. If not, we'll go from there. But yeah, hopefully by next week we'll be able to bathe, and then the week after that it'll be pinning and bubbles, which there are a lot of, so that will be exciting. And with that, I think I'm gonna head out. Yeah, it's true. Nobody wants to see naked resin taking a bath. Oh my goodness, that is scandalous. But yeah, so I've enjoyed our time. Thank you again for tuning in and supporting me. I do appreciate it. I didn't really do any advertising or posting that I was streaming, so I actually am surprised with the turnout today. So thanks, guys. I hope you all have a good night. Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Marcy, and thanks, Alyssa. Thanks everybody else that came in and tuned in. And yeah, I'm gonna go get a drink and a snacky. See you guys later. Bye bye.